Hi, I'm Kyle, and welcome to the Random Hour. And today I'm joined with Green and Nerdy. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I'm known as Green and Nerdy on Instagram, pod or TikTok and YouTube, but I go by Miranda when I'm not in cosplay. So it's very nice that you guys had me here today.
Oh yeah. So our first question: we are a pop culture podcast. What are some things you nerd out about?
Oh gosh, it feels like it's endless, but then like I meet other people and I'm like, oh, maybe I don't nerd out about as much as I thought. But I started as a nerd from books. I was a big reader. I was really into Lord of the Rings. I did read all of the Twilight books, but the movies really turned me off of Twilight. Um, but I also do dabble in a little bit of gaming. My favorite is Doom Eternal. I never did like the cutesy little like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. I was like, oh, Doom, like give me the gun and the blood and the guts and the gore. So, which is feel like is very different from like my natural persona. And then I go home and I play as, this big buff demon slayer. So yeah, I dabble in gaming. I do a lot of reading, and then that is sort of how I got into like the costume making side of things. I was like, oh my God, these people look so cool. I want to look like that. And I was like, I can. That's like in a nutshell, the nerd stuff. I've slowly started getting into a little bit of comics. The pictures are definitely super helpful, it's for sure. I don't have to make it up in my head,
Oh
but
yeah.
pretty much a little bit of everything. Yeah. I don't
What
discriminate against the nerds.
Oh, I completely understand that. I'm very big on like column A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, and
Yes.
then so I'll try a bunch of stuff, and then
hmm
I know I'll give Devin a hard time about Yu-Gi-Oh, but at the same time, I used to collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I just didn't
hmm
play it, and so
Yeah.
when we got to college, I was like, "Hey, do you want these Yu-Gi-Oh cards? I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh," and he's like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely."
Yes. Yeah,
And
I
so,
know it. I never played, but I definitely saw it. Anything that you could collect. I'm
mhm,
definitely a trinket person. I feel like a lot of nerds are, whether it's
yeah,
figurines or gosh, even just collecting like hard copy discs of games.
mhm.
It's just music to my ears.
I know. What comics are you starting to collect?
So I actually, one of my good friends, Lauren Quinar on Instagram, she really got me onto Something is Killing the Children, which
Mhm.
is more of like I don't know if it's an indie comic. I haven't like done research on it as a whole, but the whole lore and everything is crazy. It's like only these certain people can see these monsters that are killing children, and it's very interesting, and like the psychological drama and trauma of it all. I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. But definitely, again, the blood and guts and gore, so apparently that's my thing off screen.
If it makes you feel any better, when I first got into anime, my friends were talking about it at school, and so I was like, "Oh, I should try anime." And so
Yes,
I went and watched Elfen Lied.
I don't think
Um,
I've seen that one.
it's very
Okay.
And then the second one I watched was When They Cry, Future Diaries, and then just like right down the rabbit hole of like a bunch of like horror and stuff. And then I
Yeah.
watched some like the regular shonen. I'm like, oh, so it doesn't all have to be bloody and gory.
Yes, yes. I watched a lot of the more like cutesy dramas. Gosh, back when I was in middle school, I watched a lot of The Fruits Basket and the Oron Host Club, and I did watch Inuyasha, which wasn't quite as cutesy, but and of course this was back when you didn't tell people that you watched anime. This is when you kept that to yourself. So,
Yeah.
but then the pandemic happened and everybody loves anime now, so it's
Oh yeah.
quite the development to have happened, which I am all for.
Oh
So,
yeah. I think one of the exceptions is Dragon Ball. I know Dragon Ball and One Piece are the big ones, and so I
yes.
know the cartel went on a ceasefire when
Mm.
the creator of Dragon Ball passed away.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
It was one of the
That's so
first,
interesting.
yeah, it's one of the first animes to be dubbed in Spanish, and so it was like
Mm,
really big in the Hispanic community.
yeah, I bet. I mean, it's a huge franchise and series, and
Oh yeah.
it's powerful what these mediums can do to like bring
Hmm.
people together. It's
Oh yeah.
crazy.
Um, what are some other games you enjoy playing or
Hmm.
have?
I have definitely. Been playing Baldur's Gate lately.
Mhm.
I have a friend who comes over every Tuesday and we eat dinner together and we play Baldur's Gate, which basically means I only play Baldur's Gate on Tuesday since we're playing it together. But I've really enjoyed that so far. I will admit I am romancing Astarion like every other girl in the United States right now. Um, but next playthrough we're gonna go for Karlach. But I've really enjoyed the game. The voice actors, it really shows what happens when you pay your voice actors to do their job and you give them,
Yeah.
proper compensation. I mean, the amount of times that I've like been on the verge of tears and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so personal." It hits deep. Um but that's been really fun. I definitely have some cause plans in the back of my mind from that game.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty good Baldur's Gate cosplays.
Yeah, they're intense, especially like the ones with like the full like body paint and whatnot. So,
Oh yeah, I know we had. I'm gonna be giving away some trade secrets here, but we had one. She's a Star Wars cosplayer, and so we were
oh,
very curious because her character is like fully red, and so we're like, "Do you
okay.
paint yourself fully red, or do you have a bodysuit?" And she goes,
Probably a
"Both."
mix.
She does both,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
she has a special bodysuit for when it's
Mm-hmm.
for like I think it's for when it's like a prolonged period of time,
Yep,
and
that
then
makes
paint
sense.
just like minor things
Yeah,
if
probably
it's
to like
still
her face and neck and stuff.
yeah
Yeah, I've looked into it. I've never been bold enough to really do the full body paint. That feels like a sweaty disaster to me, and I haven't done
yeah
that yet, but maybe one day.
oh yeah. Here's to getting out the paintbrushes.
Yes, yeah, I just can't even imagine like the destruction to my shower afterwards of just having like red body paint
Yeah,
everywhere. Like that's a disaster waiting to happen.
I know. I have seen. I don't know if it was Arrested Development or what, but it was somebody who was just like scrubbing, and they're like, "It's not coming off."
Yes, that's my biggest
Yeah,
fear. Because I work a 9 to 5 every week and
yeah,
we meet with clients and like all I need is to be, purple at work. I'm
yeah.
sure I'd be fired in a minute. So,
So I'll be like, "Do you want to watch this again?" And my girlfriend will be like, "No, absolutely not. I read the books. That was enough."
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like I classify them as good, bad movies. Like, they're not cinematic masterpieces, but like I enjoy watching them
yeah,
because they're a little predictable, a little, funny, stupid. Not in a bad way. Like if you ask me to watch them, would I watch them? Of course. Will I laugh the entire time? Yes. The amount of like stickers, I'm like, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. And I'm like,
yeah,
I just can't take it seriously, but I will watch it. Like, you don't have to twist my arm to watch the movies.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
they're
Devin,
pretty.
poor Devin. He has to rewatch the movies a good bit because Megan will make him.
Yeah. I mean, it really does it for some people. It doesn't
Mhm.
do it for me.
Oh yeah, I completely understand that
Mhm.
because we watched it on two times speed, and he's like, "Dude, I don't know how I'm gonna watch this," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie to you. I put it on two times speed. Nothing changed. No,
Yeah. It's I mean,
it
you
was
could
so
guess what
rough.
happens.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, it was. We're like we've got to take a break from vampire movies for a while.
Yes. I think it paved the way for a lot of newer things that have come out since then, for sure.
Interesting thing you said that because Comic Con, it actually a lot of people went to Comic Con because of Twilight, and it's part of the reason there's such a diverse
Yes.
variety and not just comics anymore.
Yes. Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that now, because so I just came back from GalaxyCon this past weekend, and they had the Men of Twilight there. So it was the actors for Jasper, whoever the big guy, I don't remember his name because again I'm not that into it. And then Daddy Carlisle, what's his name? The dad, the doctor, and
Yeah,
so the three of them were there. And it's so funny because so many people were waiting in line to get pictures with them and signatures. And this was back when I was in, I think, elementary school. I went to like the midnight showings of this when I was in elementary school.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, it's got a big popular fandom. We were starting to see more of these television, not comic related things at these types of conventions or conventions and events that I think have expanded the network a lot, which I think is probably honestly how I got into it because I didn't really read a lot of comics growing up. I was much more of the movies and the TV shows and anything book related. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's so big these days.
Oh yeah. So speaking of conventions, what got you into cosplay?
So my mother, she taught high school English, but she was also a theater director. So when she was teaching high school theater, I, as like an elementary schooler, middle schooler, whatnot, I would just be for example, we did The Wizard of Oz, and I was a sleepyhead munchkin because I was, 6 years old. I just had to sit there. But I did theater all through elementary up through high school. I really I loved the backstage aspect. My grandma would make a lot of the costumes, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And of course, my parents are nerds, so I grew up on a lot of nerd culture through Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that stuff. And gosh, I love Halloween. I mean, Christmas, forget that.
Mm.
Halloween, that's my holiday. And so I always would make my own Halloween costumes or would thrift flip them. And it wasn't until my senior year of college I went to North Carolina State University, go Wolfpack, and they have an event called Art to Wear where you basically come up with your own fashion line. And I applied. I had no idea what I was doing, and I got in. And I was like, well, I guess I should figure out how to sew because I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, not only do I think this is really cool, I'm kind of good at it. And so I just really leaned into recreating all of the characters that I looked up to growing up in various types of pop culture media. And then I guess I went to my first GalaxyCon in 2022 and I super last minute entered the cosplay contest. And I didn't win anything, but I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I love being on stage. I love people coming to take pictures with me. And it pretty much something in my brain clicked and I was like, I don't want to do this for a job, but I want to do this. This is what my free time, this is what my job is paying for, is for cosplay at this point. And so through everything I had done in undergrad of college and in high school, looking back, it all makes sense that I am a cosplayer now.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just there's so much fun new media coming out. Gosh, K-pop Demon Hunters came out I guess a month and a half ago, and I've been all over that. And I just keep leaning into it every single year with whatever new stuff comes out because we have some amazing artists and writers in our generation these days, and it's just sort of keeping that alive and experimenting with new stuff. So
Okay.
everything led me to be here.
Hey, that's okay. So we're gonna get off track.
Yeah, go for
Um,
it.
what's your favorite Doctor Who or Doctor?
Oh, okay, gosh. So I feel like it depends on the day because
Mhm.
I mean, I first watched it with Chris Eccleston with
Yeah.
Rose, and I I mean, his season was good. I still vividly remember the mannequin episode. Still to this day, I'll go to department stores and I see the mannequins and I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
don't come to life. But then the whole sort of not romance but romance between Rose Tyler and the David Tennant version of the Doctor, I
Mhm.
mean that stuck with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's when we got a lot of the Cybermen and the Dalek, and that's I feel when the roots really started digging into the show, the stuff that you would see with the more current Doctors leads back to David Tennant season. You're like, oh, I remember that from oh so many years ago, and it's this cyclical nature. But I also love Matt Smith with his little fedora and his bow tie. And
Yeah.
gosh, I mean Jodie Taylor as the first female Doctor. Um, it's hard to pick a favorite because they all have their niche of
Yeah.
the seasons that they picked or that they were chosen for. But I feel as a whole, I always go back to David Tennant. I think that he was such an amazing Doctor. He's also, I mean, they're all great actors, but I think his
Mhm.
breadth of work is really diverse.
Yeah.
And I think I was at the age watching his season that that's just where it really clicked with me, and I was just absolutely obsessed. But I also love John Barrowman, which was a lot of David Tennant season. I actually met him when I was also, I think, in middle school at a really teeny tiny convention in Carteret County, North Carolina, and meeting him as I don't know, a 14-year-old changed my life. He's the sweetest
Yeah.
man ever. I love him. Um, but they're all so great. I love Doctor Who. I need to rewatch it. It's been a minute.
I feel that. I my favorite is Peter Capaldi. I love how sporadic and weird he is.
He's sassy.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
so neurodivergent, and I love it. Um,
Yes, yeah.
but
He had some
I
deep moments.
yeah,
He
um,
had some gut-wrenching moments.
the oh my gosh, I always forget her name.
Is
The
the doctor a companion?
doctor. It's not
Jodie Ta
Foster's,
is it
is
Jodie
it?
Taylor?
I think it's Taylor.
Jodie Taylor? Yeah.
Yeah,
If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you. That's always how
yeah.
this works.
Oh yeah. But I've watched most of hers. I need to get back
Mhm.
into it because
Yeah.
I started watching it with my girlfriend, and
Mhm.
then we promptly got distracted. And
Yes.
but oh my gosh, David Tennant. It's interesting you brought that up, and we brought you on to talk about cosplay because he purposely picked his outfit to so people could like dress up as him.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Oh, God, now
yeah.
I
That's
gotta
why he
add that to
wears
the list.
Converse. Yeah,
Yes. I mean, it's such an accessible item. I mean, heck, you could
yeah.
if you go to a good thrift store, you can find some used Converse for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's so fun.
oh yeah.
He's a great actor, and I also think just like a great human being. I think he has really great values. So
Yes, he's done a lot, especially for trans rights. If I'm not believe
yes.
he's been
Mhm.
very outspoken about that, and I think donated as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know, but it sounds like something he would do for sure.
yeah.
So, he's
Oh
just a
yeah,
cool dude. I'd love to meet him one day.
oh yeah. Talking about award winning, what is the cosplay that you won an award for?
Ah, yes. So I've won a few. I won my first major award at Animate, which is sort of like the subsection of GalaxyCon. Actually, I guess it was this year. Yes, back in January. I did a group cosplay. It was myself and my friend Lauren Quinn Art on Instagram, and we did Shira and Katra from Shira Princesses of Power. So I was Shira, she was Katra. We are strictly platonic friends. Everyone thinks that we're dating, but we're not. I didn't realize that people thought that until like years after we've met people. But we're a really interesting duo because I do all of our sewing and she does all of our prop making. So armor, shields, all of that stuff. But then I make everything from like our bodysuits to pants, shirts, corsets, harnesses, all that type of stuff. So that was really fun. And it's interesting because we competed once with those outfits and didn't win anything. And we were like super bummed and we were like, we're gonna win this time. So we remade a bunch of stuff. We like repatterned a bunch of armor ourselves. We made the sword like a foot and a half bigger and we added lights and did a bunch of embroidery and everything. Um, and we won this past year, which was super fun. And then I also competed at AbashaCon this past, it was either February or March. Everything kind of runs together these days. But I
Yeah,
competed as Hal from Hal's Moving Castle. I had made a really intricate jacket with a lot of beading, and I won the novice in that category. So
oh, that's cool.
it's been super fun. I definitely have like the itch to get back in there. I took a little break from competing for a while just because it's very stressful, a lot of time, a lot of money, and I was just like, I'm
Oh,
gonna take a break, and then we're picking it back up. We've got some plans up our sleeve for later this year. So,
oh yeah, good to hear. What cosplay was the most difficult for you to create?
mm, it's funny because I feel like everyone gets more and more difficult because I push myself more. I'm trying to think. I've done so many. I mean, Hal from Hal's Moving Castle was pretty interesting and intricate because he's got like his iconic like diamond jacket, and that is not an easy pattern to execute. It's very like math heavy. I mean, sewing in general is just very math heavy, which I am not good at math. It's really not the good combination to be a seamstress. Um, but that was really hard for me, not only from the pattern, but I was using really interesting combinations of textiles. I was using a metallic velvet with a silk, which is just like really, when you're sewing those fabrics together, they like slip and slide in the sewing machine a lot. So there were a lot of bad words, but it looked beautiful at the end.
Yeah,
I got a lot of compliments. I did some twists on actually some fan concept art that I saw online. So I reached out to the artist and like he was super excited about seeing it. And then actually the build that I'm working on right now, it's season finale Jinx from Arcane. And that's been really interesting because it's a lot of 3D printing, a lot of turning an animated character into something that's real life, and a lot of times those costumes aren't feasible on a real
Mhm.
human body. So that's been fun to sort of experiment with.
Oh,
But
yeah.
everything's a challenge. I make everything a challenge.
How do you this may be an easy question, but how are you gonna handle the hair and all that?
So wigs are something that I'm actually just starting to really push myself on. I've started like styling my own wigs recently with like Mira from K-pop Demon Hunters. But the good news is I just chopped like 8 inches of my hair off, so it does fit up into a wig cap a little bit
Okay.
better. Um, but I will probably, there's a specific technique that's called a helmet wig, which
Mhm.
basically, instead of it being like more malleable, you create sort of like this helmet that just like sticks to your head and really holds everything in place. It's really rigid. Um, but basically, I'm going to watch a lot of YouTube videos. I'm
Mhm.
very much as a figure it out as I'm doing it type of cosplayer. Um, I mean, you sort of have to start to figure out what is or isn't working, and
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to go wrong until you start. So, and I haven't
Yeah.
started the wig yet, so I don't know if I can answer that question yet.
You may be able to answer this one, but you did a cosplay demon hunter,
Yes.
and if I'm not mistaken, it is the one with the very long hair, is it not? Or am I thinking of the other
Yes,
one?
she is the one with the very long hair, not the braid, but it's just the
Yeah.
very long pink, neon pink hair. Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Mira
know.
from K-pop Demon Hunters. Yep.
Yeah, because I know I saw somebody doing the purple haired one, and
Rumi.
it,
Yes.
yeah, and they were doing foam in the braid to like
Mhm.
give it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's seems
Yes,
like a
I've
lot.
seen lots of interesting techniques for her hair because with that much hair, the wig is really heavy. And a lot of times, if you have hairstyles where like it's pulled back from your face, you use what's called a lace front wig. That way, it sort of like hides the hairline and it's a better transition. But then you have to glue it to your head, and the heavier the wig is, the more it tugs.
Yeah,
So I've seen some interesting techniques for how to tackle that braid for sure, which is why I decided not to cosplay that character.
understandable. I know with a lot of anime characters, a lot of times they'll do like foam to like
Yes.
help
Mhm.
with the weight, and so it's not just like one solid thing.
Yeah.
'Cause you'll have it like going up
Oh, yeah,
crazy
yeah.
ways.
They do some crazy, I mean, people have, like, screws and joints and all sorts of stuff, so
But
it's maybe what I'll dabble in next year is more wig work.
yeah. Okay. So what character that's not what I was gonna ask. What are some characters you want to cosplay in the future?
Oh gosh, the list is never ending. Well, it's interesting. I really like to do my own sort of twist on specific characters. So for She-Ra, for example, instead of doing any of her normal, like screen accurate outfits, we decided to take a more like medieval twist, and we did more of like a paladin inspired like D&D type of armor. And going back to Lord of the Rings, I would love to do a female version of the Witch King. I am obsessed with the character Eowyn and how she's like, I am no man, and she defeats the big bad guy. Well, I guess the second big bad guy. There's some other big bad guys. Um, but I think that it would be so interesting to make his helmet and just like really sort of do some like interesting like modernized take on the character and make like a more like feminine like witch queen version.
Yeah.
My parents are also both cosplayers, and my mom wants to do Eowyn, so it'd be
Yeah.
fun to do like an Eowyn witch queen like sort of like combo duo. Um, so that's one that I've got in the back of my mind. And then I'm also a huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra. I mean, oh, I could talk your ear off about it. But I love the concept of the White Lotus, the team with
Mhm.
Iroh and just all of like these, sage masters. And I think it'd be really interesting to do a like historically accurate version of their outfit.
Yeah.
And just like really do like some historical research on, what types of fabrics were used, like specific stitch work. Um, Again, anything to make my life more complicated. Why would I take the easy route when I could be historically accurate? It
Yes.
just changes every day, but it's all on a notes app somewhere. So,
I understand that. So
Yeah.
you brought up embroidery. What
Yes.
is your favorite thing that you've embroidered?
So this actually probably goes back to Shira. The entire breastplate that I
Mhm.
made, it's made out of Worbula, but it's actually fully hand beaded embroidery. So there's a screen cap from the TV show that has sort of like one of the first one tech like illuminated scenes, and I actually embroidered that onto this Worbula breastplate. The embroidery probably took me about 20 hours because with beading it's a little bit different. You have to like hand bead it, and I didn't do timbre, which if any embroidery people listen to this, they would know that timbres, it's a quicker way of doing beaded embroidery. But I didn't do that because I wasn't as comfortable with the technique. But that was super fun and interesting, and the headpiece for that was also embroidered. And I did a bunch of embroidery on the, I don't know the correct word for it. I've been calling it a crotch cape. It's like the little piece of fabric and armor that like covers your crotch. So
Like
I've been
the
calling,
tunic.
yeah, but I don't know like
Yeah,
the actual word for it.
that
It's
is a
funny when
great question.
I went in for prejudging, and I was like, and this is my crotch cape that is hand embroidered, and they were like, okay, cool. And I was like, you can't not know what I'm talking about if I call this a crotch cape. So new vocabulary word for everybody, crotch cape. But so that was, I think, probably the most holistically detailed. And then I did a good bit of embroidery on the Howl's Moving Castle jacket as well. At the intersection of the diamonds, I hand embroidered stars on every single joint. There's probably 100 of those joints. Really a lot of beads. I've got quite the collection at this point. I actually don't do as much fabric embroidery as I do beaded embroidery, now that you mention it.
Yeah.
So,
I know on your Etsy you had a couple. I think you had Pokemon and then
yes, yes.
Zelda.
Yes, I had
Yeah.
a few Zelda stuff. I actually had done a bunch of Koroks that never even made it to Etsy because I completely sold out of them at an in person show. I do some house moving castle embroideries. I do a lot of I take the fabric and I actually do watercolor on it first, and then I embroider on top of it. Which yeah, a lot of that is more like fabric based. It just hasn't crossed over into my cosplay area yet, but at some point I would love to get back into having booths at different events to actually sell artwork as opposed to being like a guest or whatnot,
Mhm.
just to get a little bit of extra cash in the bank. But I mean, embroidery, it's like sort of cathartic to me, like just like the motion, once I have the design sort of sketched out, it's just I can sit and watch TV and do it. I can have friends over and they can be talking and I can be in the corner embroidering. I'm very much a watcher. I don't really engage as much. It's my
Yeah.
introvertedness coming out, but yeah, it's such a fun hobby. 10 out of 10 recommend.
I'll get Devin to pick it up and tell me how it goes.
Yes. It's fun. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
The funny thing is, I don't think he even knows how to sew. I was a Boy Scout, so I used to like sew and do a bunch of
Yes.
stuff like that.
It's such a good skill. You don't know how useful it is until you learn it.
Oh yeah, and then both of our significant others crochet, and so to like
That's
no
hard.
avail, we have not been able to get anybody that crochets on the podcast to talk about crocheting. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, I told my significant other, I'm like, hey, if I get somebody that crochets, would you listen? She goes, you know what, sure. And I haven't had any luck.
I have dabbled in
Yeah.
crochet. I crocheted a pair of mittens. They were
Mhm.
goose mittens, so like it made like a little bill and then
Yeah.
there's like the neck. They're not the same size at all. One's bigger than the other. Um, I don't know how people do it. It's insane. I picked up crochet and knitting at the same time, which apparently you're not supposed to do because I'm just bad at both of them because they're so different. And I just like I try to knit when I crochet and I try to crochet when I knit. So I'm just gonna stick to embroidery and sewing.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Um, what character you've cosplayed do you relate to the most?
Wow, that's interesting. I definitely have a soft spot for Korra from Legend of Korra, I know some people hate Legend of Korra. I say this all the time. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang is learning how to be the Avatar,
Yeah.
but in Legend of Korra, she is the Avatar learning how to be a person. Everyone
Mhm.
already knows who the Avatar is. She's, being compared to Aang. But she's like, no, I just want to be a person. Um, and I'm an only child, but I am the oldest of all of my cousins, second cousins, all of that. And I feel like in a way I'm sort of like unintentionally, intentionally like paving the way in terms of like I had no one, like no siblings or whatnot to look up to. So it's like, oh well, I have to get the good grades and I have to do the XYZ, and it's like I'm the pillar. Which is great. It's allowed me to push myself, but sometimes it's like, oh my God, like I have to do really good because like I'm setting the stage for like everybody else, which and I know like in hindsight, like they probably have to look up to me now, but it's just really interesting to be sort of like the first in this line of all of the cousins and whatnot. And I also just love her journey, all of the different aspects of mental health that she goes through is just really, I think, relatable. And it's that interesting aspect of it. Like, it's a kids' show, the kids love it. But then when you're an adult and you watch it and you're like, oh, that's me right there. I've been there at some point.
Yeah.
That's been super fun. I also really enjoy cosplaying different Owl House characters, whether it's Ida the Owl Lady, or Luz, and just sort of like how they experience like finding their people and their friends. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but at the beginning of Owl House, the main character Luz, she's like being trying sent to normal camp. And I feel like every nerd at some point, not to that extent, but there's always been like the hey, like why aren't you more normal?
Yep.
Not even necessarily from parents. My parents are amazing, but just like cultures in general, they don't want you to be you or
Yeah.
eccentric or weird or cool. And it's like you're just jealous that you're not as cool as us right now. So I've really enjoyed that as well. Makes me want to do some more Owl House cosplays for sure, because that was, I think, if I was in middle school growing up and had seen that, I would have been like, oh my God, she's so cool. Like, I want to be a witch too. So I definitely feel like Cora and Luz are close to heart for sure.
Oh, yeah. Owl House. It was one I really liked.
Hmm.
It was so good, so cute, so campy.
Yes, I loved
Yeah.
it.
It was so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, but I do have a question, and I'm
Yes.
pretty sure I know most of this answer. So you did an Ida cosplay.
I did. Yes.
How did the wings go?
So it's funny you bring that up. That was my first actual cosplay, like
Mhm.
intent. Like I made that entire thing in about 3 weeks. I signed up for the GalaxyCon competition 2 days prior, because I had a friend who was working the cosplay booth. And that was, I mean, like I had always like dressed up before, but I don't think I like knew that cosplay was a thing because I come from a really small town in North Carolina. But I I'd watched a tutorial on YouTube, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but she had used it's PVC pipe and like actuators that are in the
Mhm.
different elbow joints. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. These are like 6 foot wings. This is perfect. So I made my PVC pipes 6 feet long. But then I had to add the feathers, and the feathers stick out past the PVC pipe. So then my wings became 11 feet long when they were fully extended. So I would be at this convention center that has, probably 30,000 people at it. And I'm extending my wings, and it's an 11-foot
Yeah.
wingspan. And it's funny because someone, like a little girl, would be like, oh my God, you're Ida. Can I take a picture with you? And it's like, of course. I was like, but wait, it gets better. And I would extend the wings. And then people would flock to me. There'd be like
Yeah.
one little girl, and then there's like 20 people like waiting in line to get a photo with me. And I was like, this was not my intent. Like, this is my first big convention. Very much the definition of like go big or go home on your first try. But
Yeah.
I definitely, the wings honestly didn't survive after 2 times of wearing it because I did the whole things in 2 weeks, but I would love to remake them. I've learned so much since then. It has a piece of Sintra that's like a back plate that the PVC pipe is screwed onto. Excuse me. And then all of the feathers are actually a thick interfacing that I just glued like with a spray, like a Gorilla Glue adhesive, glued fabric onto. And then I also just glued regular, like feathers that you would buy off of Amazon or Hobby Lobby, Joann's, RIP. But all things considered, I mean, it was a pretty easy build minus the wiring for the actual actuators to make them move up and down. But
Mhm.
I wanted to keep the whimsy of like not having the little like pull strings. but they're currently under my guest bed because they did not survive. It's funny,
Okay.
people come over and they're like, "Why are there wings under your bed?" And I'm like, "Don't ask, don't ask."
No, I saw them and I thought they were pretty cool. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It's definitely, I think, how I started to become known in the community because not many people are walking around with 11-foot wings, that's for sure.
What cosplay tip do you wish you knew when you started?
Oh gosh. Your first cosplay is gonna suck, and that's okay. The first time you pick anything up, like it's gonna suck, and it should suck. Um, And I think also something that I learned pretty early on was it's okay to, go to YouTube for inspiration, go to Pinterest for inspiration. Honestly, like if you message big time cosplayers who have hundreds of thousands of followers, like they'll reach back out to you and be like, "Oh my gosh, like thanks for," like people love to talk about themselves and the work that they do. Like they will totally give you tips and tricks for materials. But it's really like you're a cosplayer to have fun. Like you have a connection to the character or you think the costume is really cool. Like you shouldn't be doing it for someone or something else. If you let your passion for the character sort of drive you, then as long as you're having fun, like it's totally fine. Lean on your friends for help, lean on your family for help, lean on YouTube and the internet for help. There's no right way to cosplay. You really shouldn't be trying to be anybody else. So I definitely wish I had known that sooner because I was trying to be one of those people who has hundreds of thousands of followers and make the perfect cosplay when I didn't know how to use a sewing machine, which, as you can imagine, didn't turn out very well. So, yeah.
Alrighty. So this may be your answer, and so I may have already asked the question. What, in your opinion, is the coolest prop you've made for a cosplay?
So again, I don't make as many of my props because I have someone, we tag team it. But I think my favorite was my most recent, the glaive that I made for Mira from K-pop Demon Hunters.
Hmm.
It's 3D printed. Um, but there were a lot of people who had put LED lights into the glaive, which is, excuse me, really cool. But I thought some of them looked just like a little cheap, just like the way that the light emitted through different types of like PLAs and TPUs and like plastics and whatnot. Just it looked like something that you'd maybe get at Walmart and whatnot. But I felt really proud of myself for finding this holographic vinyl that glows in the dark. And so if you watch the movie, the color of their weapon sort of changed depending on the state of the moon and whatnot, and the way that the holographic vinyl sort of shifts in color, sort of like follows the colors of the moon throughout the TV series and TV or
Yeah.
the movie, not series, although they did release, they're making more movies, so I'm excited for that.
Okay.
Um, but it's just a holographic vinyl with a pearl vinyl on top. And I have gotten so many compliments about it at different conventions. Be like, "Oh my gosh, how did you make it?" Because it kind of looks like it's glowing. It does glow in the dark also, so that's a fun fact. But I've actually had people reach out to me to commission props for them from K-pop Demon Hunters, which is just insane because I don't do commission work. It really stresses me out. I making things for other people. I'm like, like what if you hate it? Like I don't want to put that pressure on you or me. But that's definitely been my favorite prop that like I have made like start to finish by
Hmm.
myself, and I'm excited to potentially make more for other people. So,
Yeah. What has been one of your best con experiences?
so I actually went to KatsuCon for my first time this past February in DC, and I loved it. It's definitely more of like a networking convention. Some people call it like a party con because there's a lot of like after dark events and whatnot. But I was able to just to talk to so many people. I wasn't competing, which so like I wasn't stressful. And they have like a really nice like big space and there's like different areas you could sit down, which was really nice. A lot of conventions like don't actually have places for you to sit, which was GalaxyCon this past year. But just the amount of people that I met who are just there to like have fun and be silly was just really refreshing because a lot of conventions lately in the past year or so it's been sort of like competitive or it just hasn't been as fun lately. But I had a ton of fun at KatsuCon. Everyone was just there to be a little silly goose, so that
Okay.
was really fun.
What is your best tips for surviving a convention?
Drink water. I would definitely bring like liquid IVs. Um, I know some conventions are stricter now in terms of like what type of stuff you can bring in. But if you can bring like a granola bar or like a little pack of gummies, like just make sure that you eat and drink water. I know like it's really hard to, think about eating when you're in costume. You don't want to get things on your outfit or whatever. But if you pass out, like that's
Yeah.
admittedly probably worse. And then I just bring a little sewing kit. I just bring thread, needle, some sort of like super glue just for emergencies. Um, if you have a specific costume, maybe just pack like a little emergency kit that's specific to what you're wearing. That way you can, when slash if disaster strikes, you
Yeah.
can fix it and not be stressed out about it. So
Okay.
yeah.
What is your favorite thing that you've painted?
So I haven't painted in a hot minute. I actually do more, obviously, like textiles and more like digital work now. But when I was in high school, I did a self portrait of
Mhm.
myself. Actually, I did an entire like AP art thesis project on like the duality and dichotomy of like the heart and the brain, and if you're more led by your head versus your heart, and sort of how that shapes who you are and your life choices. So I did this self portrait where I sort of like mixed up like where the brain and the heart was, because in high school I was like, I'm not really like using my head right now, like I'm just sort of doing what feels right. So that was really interesting. Painting people in general is just really hard. And it just sort of was like a very like introspective moment for myself. And then a piece that I actually still have hanging up in my house right now, I did a yin and yang of like a super like hyper realistic heart and brain, just sort of showing that like, again, like it's not black and white, like you're not always thinking logically versus thinking emotionally. And I feel like that's just kind of how I live my life. And you kind of have to think logically to survive, but you have to think emotionally to enjoy your survival.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just don't paint as much anymore. I just
Oh, yeah.
Sewing took over my life.
I know. So I used to do a lot of art growing up, and then
Mhm.
I stopped because my parents were like, "This is gonna be very sad," um, because they were like, "It's a waste of money. You shouldn't be doing this."
Yes.
And so I stopped. And then, so when my parents got divorced, like one of the big things that I did as like a big fu, I was like, "I'm going to do art classes," and
Yes.
so I did
Yes.
art. I had a great time.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I did a self portrait, and it is hanging up at our college.
That's great.
It may seem that way, but I think it's awful. And everybody's like, "It's so good," and I'm like,
That's how every art
"No,
is. You think your own work is
yeah,
horrendous and everyone's like, "I'll pay you for it." And you're like, "No, please don't. Like
mm,
you can have it for free."
yeah,
Yeah.
oh
No, it's
yeah,
interesting. I feel like so I actually went to College of Design at NC State. I got my undergrad in design studies and my master's in art and design. And I work as a full-time exhibit designer, which is just sort of like proof that like you can go to art school and
hmm
have like a job and a 401k and a house and everything, yada yada yada. I feel like people are really scared in high school to like encourage that in their kids,
yeah,
whether it's art or music. Is it hard? Yes. Do you have to do a little bit of extra legwork? Yes, because everyone at some point wants to be an artist or a musician, but there's actually a lot more job opportunities than you would think. So I actually give presentations at the college during their design camps when like the high schoolers and the middle schoolers come in. And I'm like, again, honestly, whatever your parents tell you to do is great. They have their own plan. But like, if you want to be an artist, you can be an artist. Do you
yeah.
have to do the work? Yes. So I always tell people like I went to art school and I turned out fine. So it's definitely possible, but like you gotta put in the muscle work. So yeah.
So, um, what is the craziest D&D campaign story you have?
Ah, okay. So I'm running a campaign for all new players right now, so it's a little rudimentary, but oh gosh, and they don't know this yet, so maybe when I if I let them watch this, I'll just tell them to stop
Yeah,
watching at this point. But I'm getting ready there's a big shift that's happening in our campaign where they're going to take, a long rest and whatnot, but they're actually going to wake up and they're going to be in an alternate reality, but they're not going to be able to tell which one is real and which one is fake. And it's
mhm,
going to be like this whole thing. And there's a lot of like the character's backstory that's like really sad and depressing. And in one reality, they're the good guys and one, they're the bad guys. And throughout the campaign, they're gonna have to figure out like which reality do they want to stay in, like
Yeah,
which one's real, which one's not. Um, so again, I'm sure a lot of this will change as they start playing because, half the campaign is run by the players. But I'm really excited for them to sort of really dive deep into their characters and their backgrounds and their traumas and their crying characters.
yeah,
I'm like, if you're not crying by the end of this session, we didn't do it right. So,
that's awesome.
oh, and then also, um, we had them go to this little like gem store, and there's like this big burly guy, and he's like, welcome to whatever store, like hope you find what you're looking for. And it was this whole parody of Webkins with the
Yeah,
gem mining game and Art the gem miner. And we have now, because of that, we are actually building a dungeon in Webkins. We all have the mobile app, and I have everyone playing to send me free gifts. That way I can build a dungeon in Webkins. And when it's done, we're actually going to play D&D like on Webkins, and like that's going to be the dungeon.
that is
Um,
awesome.
but it's taking a while because, as you can imagine, like I don't just get free things in Webkins very
Yeah,
often. Like you actually have to play a lot. And I'm like, I don't want to spend my time playing Webkins, but I will for the campaign.
yeah.
We're gonna have a whole dungeon in Webkins. I've got about 2 rooms set up right now. So
Shoot, you set up a core memory because I remember Webkins when I was a kid.
yes.
Everybody had them.
Yes, yeah. And then they started making like the online versions, like you didn't
Yeah,
have to buy the plushie, you could just like get the code. Yeah. It's gonna it's gonna be really good. I hope that we can keep the group together long enough for me to finish
well,
building this dungeon online. So
that is absolutely probably the best thing I've heard all week.
yeah, I really hope it works out. It's very much in the works, but the idea
Okay,
itself, I mean, how can we go wrong with D&D and Webkins? So
I don't think you can. That's awesome. Uh, so if you were a D&D character in real life, what would you be?
mm.
What class would you be?
It's hard because there's very much like who I'd want to be versus who I think I would be. I
Mhm.
really want to be a bard. I
Yeah,
think they're so fun and silly, but like I don't think I've got the game to be a bard. So maybe I'd be like a failed bard. Like he thinks he's gonna be this like hot shit, and then he's just like really sad. Like no one really likes his music and whatnot. But I also feel like I would love to be a druid. I feel like the
hmm,
connection to nature and animals and just like the like natural spirituality of it all feels really appealing. And I just feel like I like playing those types of characters. Like their abilities are pretty cool. But like deep in my heart, I want to be a bard.
yeah.
I wish I could pull off being a bard.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
we've got one last question for you.
perfect. Yeah.
Where can the people at home find you and your content?
Yes, my favorite question. So I on Instagram, I'm known as Green and Nerdy, all one word. I believe it is the same on TikTok. I'm not gonna lie, I only got on TikTok because Trump tried to ban it, and I was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna get on TikTok now." So I'm on TikTok as Green and Nerdy, and then I'm also on YouTube as Green and Nerdy underscore cosplay.
Okay.
I've just recently started guesting at small local conventions. So if anyone wants someone to babble about cosplay and how to start there, I'd love to do it. I have an email, greenandnerdycosplay@gmail.com. And yeah, I just love hopefully getting the next generation of little nerds to be even nerdier than we are. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. That's the nerdy dream.
Yes, just make the culture more, build the
Yeah.
kingdom, create more. Yes.
It's funny you say that because I have gotten my nephew into comic books, manga, and just like
Yes.
a bunch of different stuff. And
Mhm.
he's slowly being like, I want to dress up as this anime character. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, really?
Yes, one of my little cousins is they're both actually really into One Piece.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get them to a convention. So if my aunt watches this, you should let your nephews come to a convention with me. I
Oh, yeah.
promise we will all three behave. So
I can't promise that he will.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. But I believe that's our show. Do you have any last
Yes.
words?
Just thank you for having me. I love, being able to talk about the stuff that I do. I don't do cosplay for profit or for fame. It's just what makes me happy and what allows me to go to work the next day and, not hate myself at work. So, yeah, thank you for
Alrighty.
having me.